What's up, knife freaks, sharpness geeks, and purveyors of stabby goodness? Welcome to the Knife Freak Show. My name is Jonathan McNeese. This is my co-host, Mr. Chase Boatwright.
Happy Wednesday. And it's not actually Wednesday. That's just a joke from Winnie the Pooh that my child watches a lot. So it's very windy today. How you doing?
It is very, very windy today here. So, yeah. As I mentioned to you before we started, it's blowing cold and windy. All right. So, how'd your week in the shop go?
Pretty good. Made a decent amount of progress on all those folder blades I started last week. Getting close to finishing up sort of special project fixed blade that I've been working on for one of my really good customers. And got a couple other folders that I've set the lock on and set the detent on and all that. But there is one thing from a couple weeks ago that I want to mention after you get done talking about like what your week was like, because it was something I meant to talk about, but there was too much time in between when it happened and then when we recorded that I kind of forgot about it until after. But yeah, how did your week go?
Okay. It was pretty good. It was real good overall, I guess. So we're diving over into doing 3-inch Mac 2s. I think I've already mentioned that probably more than once.
Mm-hmm.
And we're running basically them and Dixon parts kind of simultaneously. But we started back into building the 3-inch this past week. And as usual, I mean, I think it's been at least 2 years, maybe a little longer since we built any of them. And so even though it's more or less the same construction and stuff, like there was some little stuff that kind of threw us out of our groove. Like we make little 3D printed plugs to mask off the critical areas when we're blasting and stuff, and the guys got confused and used the ones for the Dixons, which are way too big. And because we've been doing Dixons for months now, nothing but Dixons, so they just grabbed the ones that were handy and started using them. So, and just other little stuff, those programs we haven't run in a while, and they as far as like the handle programs and stuff, and we're always tweaking speeds and feeds, or rearranging order of operations to make things, try to make them have less burrs coming off the machine, or make them more efficient or whatever. So there was stuff to tweak on the programs and things like that. And with tweaking usually comes a couple little mistakes and things like that. So anytime you start messing with something, you're leaving room for human error to miss a decimal point or forget to check a box or something. So, but overall, pretty good. We didn't get a ton of them built yet, but the ones that we are getting built are looking good, and we should be basically ready to hit a stride this week on them, I think. The one thing I'm super happy about is, so, we've talked about the blade grinding. It's been just a few months since we started doing the blade grinding in-house the way we're doing it now. And that's been a pretty daunting thing for me because, I hired somebody to come in and help me a lot to get set up grinding the Dixon blades. Like they came in and helped me, figure out how to get the whole setup going and all that. And then I did a little tweaking on it after that, but I had not completely just done it from scratch myself. Of course, I say from scratch. I've got the Dixon blades now to kind of, the stuff we did on them to go off of. So it's not technically from scratch, to be fair. But I had done one fixed blade already that we'd already been grinding just a few of over the last few weeks. But this past week or so, we were able to also get the 3-inch blades going and grinding, which is why, obviously we're building them. So those have our new, what we're calling our high performance hollow grinds on them, which I'm super happy about. And then we also are bringing back the Ridge Runner, and we're bringing it back with this high performance hollow grind on it as well. And it was the second. We did the 3-inch first, and it went pretty smooth, minus a couple of issues with some. I hesitate to call it a crash, but I kind of crashed a wheel. The grinding wheel went way deeper than it was supposed to, and kind of ruined the wheel and the part, of course. But because I actually don't know for sure what I did. Pretty sure it goes back to what I said a second ago about, I think I missed a decimal point. I think I put like 0.1 or minus 0.1 instead of 0.01 or something like that. I don't really even know for sure what I did.
Yeah.
But and then
that's a country
we had a
mile.
yes, yeah, difference between with pretty much anything we do. The difference between 100 thousandths and 10 thousandths is might as well be yeah, like you said, a mile. It's a lot. So the and then we had an employee that made a mistake and selected a wrong program or something. Kind of did more or less the same thing I did, just I think made a different mistake with the same result, which set us back a little bit on the grinding because we messed up a couple of wheels, and it takes a little bit of time to break in a new wheel and get it kind of grinding consistently. So it seemed like it was harder than it was on the 3-inch, but if you subtract out those couple of stupid mistakes, it actually went really smooth. And then it went even smoother on the ridge runners. We actually, I could not believe it. The very first blank that we put on there in ground, we were actually able to like finish out and make into a completed knife, which has been unheard of so far. So I won't bank on getting that lucky again, but we managed it on that one. So we got them up and running pretty quick. So I'm pretty tickled about all that. Like to have a little more progress on getting 3-inch actually built, but the getting set up with the grinding programs and actually being able to get that done has been a huge weight off my shoulders to know that we can actually do it now, repeat performance without having to recruit help that's been huge. So that's pretty much how our week went.
Nice. I'm sort of surprised you started with the 3-inch with the folder blades versus the fixed blades. But I guess I'm also thinking about that in terms of my world. You know, a lot more work goes into a folder blade before I grind it versus, I guess in your process. I mean, you get it from water jet, you do, some surface treatment, and then, it's would it essentially be, just a smaller piece of steel in terms of those two things, like versus the Ridge Runner versus a Mac 2 blade at that point when it's getting ground? Or
There's about the same amount of work in them at that point, maybe a little bit more because the program for the folder blades, there's a few features on it, that the fixed blades don't have. Fixed blades are like when they get machined prior, like all the machining stuff minus the bevels, it's not a whole lot. It's mostly just profiling and doing some chamfering and stuff. Whereas the handles, the folder blades, sorry, are they have pivot holes that have to be a more precise size, that have to be drilled and reamed, and they have detent ramp that we put on them and some different stuff. Not a ton of difference as far as the amount of work or money, I guess, that we've got in them. And to be honest with you, that wasn't really a factor in what was going to get done first. It was just I knew I was ready to build 3-inch, like that was on the schedule for what we were ready to build next, and it had to get done. So just went for it.
Gotcha.
And like I said,
Yeah,
we had done one other fixed blade first, that ringed agent. We had already done some of those. We just hadn't had time to run many of them. So technically we did start with a fixed blade on my own before diving into a folder blade. So
yeah, I guess I missed that part. I was just it had me thinking while you were going. I was like, that's sort of backwards to me, but also in your process, I don't, it's probably not, any difference whatsoever. And you know, the other thing I was, sort of thinking about while you were going is like that constant tweaks thing. And if a model is out of rotation for a while and you come back into it, there is, like you said, almost 2 years worth of tweaks and adjustments and little, small details that can be easily missed, or, slight changes to stuff that is hard to keep up with. And that's definitely one of those things that, like, you know, I, I can't get out of my own way of trying to improve stuff in the middle. Like I'm trying to fix it while I'm going down the racetrack, basically. Like, still trying to
yeah,
do stuff constantly to improve it in the middle of the actual thing. And, it's a good thing and a bad thing. It hinders productivity, but it's also, always constantly sort of striving for that better product. But yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a great thing to be always trying to constantly improve your processes and improve the end product or whatever. But like you said, it can cause some issues. It can definitely slow you down. It can cost you more. This leaves more room for mistakes. You know, like I said earlier, like all it takes is just a simple, stupid typo or whatever, and every time you change something or repost a program or whatever, there's a chance for messing something up, and so it definitely it's worth it, but it does hurt you on the production end of it. Pretty much every single thing that I've ever done to make an improvement has caused a temporary setback. There's probably been a few little really minor
Yeah,
things, but anything that's even like semi substantial that we've changed has pretty much caused a setback every time. And that just probably speaks to my lack of skill, but at least a lot of it. But it just is what it is for now.
yeah, for sure. That's just one of those things that people may be aware of it, but I'll hear critics or reviewers be like, "Oh, just change it," and "Oh, change this, and this," like, and all of a sudden you're turning into a lot of different potential setbacks and issues with R&D, like you said, in those first few blades, generally you're not going to get a good one the first time. There's going to be some error in it. You gotta sight in the rifle before you go hunting. You gotta have some little bit
Yeah.
of error and a little bit of mistakes to get it lined up. So
Yep, it's not as simple as a lot of people seem. It's kind of like I'm sure it's the same way that a lot of like carpenters and builders and stuff feel when like, they're building somebody's house. Like say they're building somebody a custom house and they're halfway through the job or whatever, and they come the owner the person that they're building it for comes in like, hey, I was wondering, would it be a big deal if we could just move that closet like 2 feet over this way or whatever, and like all right, now everything's affected. Your electrical, your plumbing, you know what I mean? Like there's potentially a gazillion things that are affected by it
yeah,
that the person that just thinks it's not a big deal to move the closet 2 feet, in theory, that sounds great. All you gotta do is just move the framing 2 feet over whatever. But like there's usually issues that come with that. Like it's just the nature of the
yeah,
beast. So,
yeah. I mean, it's only 2 feet. It should be fine. I mean, yeah, it's not that hard. But yeah, there's definitely
yeah.
that compounding ripple effect when you're building something in a system like that. Um, but back to what I was talking about earlier. I'm currently building a folder for a customer, and it's uh, on the fancier side, fancier materials. I'm doing a floating backspacer and some things I don't normally do otherwise. I put a lot of time, and I'm trying to take it real low and slow, trying not to screw anything up along the way. And I went to go drill the detent the other day, and just straight up, just put the knife in the closed position, didn't clamp nothing, didn't rubber band it, didn't even squeeze it tightly, and went up and just drilled the detent hole right in the blade. And I was highly, highly upset with myself, obviously. But yeah, it was just one of those things where I was like worried about all these other things that, like, once I got to the actual process part, I forgot to actually do the process right. Because if y'all remember going back to our detent episode, when I don't know if I have a folder on me, actually, I've got a fixed blade. But when you're doing the detent on a blade, when you're drilling the detent on a knife, yeah, Jonathan's got one. You want to actually compress it in the closed position. That way, it offsets where that hole is compared to where that ball is. You don't want that ball perfectly centered in that hole, otherwise, you get a little bit of lash in there. So, yeah, that was exciting. I was able to actually fix it with a variety of things, one including a slightly oversized detent ball, a little bit of creative bending on the lock bar, and some other things like that. And luckily, I hadn't actually drilled the hole yet. I just spotted it, so I went with a smaller carbide size and was able to kind of get it where it was. The hole itself was pretty much not actually formed yet. It was more just like a slight bowl, And so it sort of just
Yeah.
has like a countersink around the detent hole a little bit. And so luckily I didn't have to order more steel, and because it was a Damascus, blade and all that. And I've already had to contact the Damascus maker to get more Damascus for the backspacer earlier, and it was a thing. So yeah,
Hmm.
just wanted to kind of tell on
Yeah.
myself a little bit there.
Yeah. You just like completely lost your mind for a minute, huh?
I did, and immediately, as soon as I did it, I was like, "What in the hell are you doing? Just put it down. Go to McDonald's and get a job or something. Like, what are you doing out here?" That's how I feel in those moments. Is like, why are you even doing
it's
this? You have no business being out here.
yeah. That's a good example though, man, of like it's all it takes is just a little bit of lack of focus for just a couple of seconds, and like your mind's over here somewhere or whatever, or, something, and then before you know it, like you said, you've done that a gazillion times, and then you just, for whatever reason, just have a lapse of focus for a minute, and then you've made a mistake. So thankfully, at least it
Yep.
was that's also the same kind of stuff that can happen when people hurt themselves too. But in this case, thankfully, it wasn't a safety issue. It was just you might have almost rather it was a small safety issue than potentially messing up a
Yeah.
Damascus blade. But
I mean,
yeah,
it was only a number 53 drill. I mean, that wouldn't hurt that bad, I don't think. I mean, it sucked, but it'd grow back.
yeah, yeah.
That's the thing. Steel
But
don't grow back. So,
nope.
like, but yeah, just that was one of those things a couple weeks ago. Whenever we had that sort of 2 week gap that happened, and
Yeah,
luckily since then I've moved on to grinding the blade, and detent's fine, and I'm on the hand rubbing and getting close to etching it now and all that. So we're
good.
good.
I'm
Just
glad that
gave me a minor heart attack for a minute.
yeah, I'm glad you were able to salvage it. That's that goes to what so you've heard me say it a bunch of times, but like knife making is about 90% problem solving. It's that's what I feel like we spend the majority of our time doing. So, and now sometimes the problems are
Yep.
caused by just our own mistakes or lack of focus or whatever in it. But yeah, but
Yeah.
it is. It's like if it's not something like that, then it's a machine tearing up or this or that, and you got to try to figure out because we're not even us we're not big enough to have a maintenance man. I told Amy a couple of days ago, I was like, I cannot wait until we are big enough that we can hire like a full-time maintenance man. Like I'm so tired of trying to figure out how to fix machines and just different stuff that's just I won't say not in my wheelhouse, but not totally in my wheelhouse. You know what I mean? Like I'm fairly handy, but like I don't want to have to fool that stuff. I want to be able to keep things running, and you know what I mean? Like I want to produce products. I don't want to be working on machines and stuff, but at some point maybe, and then hopefully we'll just not have too many problems, but you're always going to have some. So it just goes with the territory. But
Very much so. Yeah.
yeah,
Everybody's you're gonna have issues no matter what size you are, I believe. I mean, it's just part of the gig.
100%.
I got a
Something's
buddy of
going to mess
mine.
up.
Yeah, I got a buddy of mine he's like, he started as just a maintenance guy, and then now he's like the head of the maintenance guys for like a big plant that produces Mercedes-Benz parts, like big multi-million-dollar plant. And he gets phone calls at 2 o'clock in the morning about their giant like 20-ton press going out, and all that sort of stuff, and has to run up there and fix it all the time. So like, definitely something to look forward to.
Yeah, yeah. That's that becomes a nightmare in and of itself, but it comes with the territory, like I said. So,
Yeah.
but so guys, what we kind of had laid out for this episode, I messed it up a little bit. I'll go ahead and say. So we want to do a kind of a Christmas gift, kind of a wish list kind of thing, like EDC knife making related. And I mentioned it to Chase, and I just said a Christmas wish list, and I think he took it a little more literal as like his Christmas wish list, whereas I kind of made a list of like things that I thought would make good like Christmas gifts for people. What could also, I mean, it's all stuff that I like, so I would be totally fine with this being my actual wish list too. So it kind of works either way. So we're going to get a little bit of both in here. By the time I hear Chase talking about some of the stuff for the shop, it'll probably I may change some of my answers anyway. So
half of it's stuff you already have.
Well, I might just want another one then.
Yeah.
So I think we'll jump into that, and we're going to do kind of a Christmas wish list. So like I said, some of it's going to be like stuff for knife makers. Some of it's going to be just normal EDC stuff, and we'll just go from there and just see where it takes us. So it's getting a little late. By the time this comes out, you're probably pushing it to be able to get stuff ordered and get it in before Christmas. But I didn't want to do this episode too early either, and be nobody be in the Christmas spirit yet. So maybe this will be decent timing on it. So why don't you go ahead and start us off then with what you had on your list, and then we'll just bounce back and forth.
All right. And like Jonathan said, he said that to me, and my mind immediately went to my Christmas wish list, which is basically all stuff for the shop. It doesn't really include anything like a product for me singularly. I mean, I'm the only one working in there, and it would make my life better, but it's not. It's for business purposes. Number one on that would be a 3D printer, specifically the Bamboo Lab 3 or Bamboo Lab A1, the one you have.
Bamboo, A1.
Yeah. I've seen all the uses that, you've got out of having a 3D printer. Like you said, those little plugs, I see stuff from guys all over, like guys making like full boxes and stuff, like display boxes for their knives. Like other makers doing that. I recently just bought a 3D printed bit driver from Parthené. Yeah, Knives, Blake Parthené, who's somewhere up in the northwest, I think Idaho or Montana. But anyway, I just, I see a lot of different people doing really cool things with them. And I think it would be a really good introduction into, designing stuff on Fusion and getting more proficient at it without having the, I guess, stakes of, machining parts and crashing a mill or, destroying however much titanium and steel and stuff like that. So, definitely wanting a 3D printer in the near future, and they're not super expensive. I mean, I think the one I'm wanting is like $400 with the combo thread, spools and stuff. And I was real close to pulling the trigger on Black Friday, but I get real leery about making big purchases sort of near the holidays, and I don't know. I try not to. I try to keep my cash fluid at that point, just for whatever reason. I don't know. It just something in my head told me, not quite yet. I was real close. I was like, I had it in my cart. I was about to push the button, and just something back there was like, nah, we should wait a little bit and
I've been there.
See if we can find it again. See if we can get there again.
Yeah. When you do, you will definitely be glad you did. They're worth their price many times over. That really is good. All the stuff you said for prototyping, it's great being able to quickly print something out and feel what it's like in hand. For a folder, you can kind of get an idea of at least somewhat of your positions and like open close positions, stuff like that, how it's going to look. Like there's a lot of stuff that you can do with it that helps with that. Not to mention just all the other cool, like it's pretty frequently that we if I need a little bracket or something, or even like a little washer, if it doesn't have to be something just super specific strength wise or something, like where it just has to be a steel washer or something, you make spacers. There's tons of stuff that you could do. It's not to mention, and yes, you're talking about Fusion, and of course you can design your own stuff and print it on there. But also there are tons of open source models online. Like you can spend all day looking through all the cool stuff that's out there that's designed that you can just download the file and print. Like I printed all kinds of stuff that that I just pull straight off the internet. So it's really cool. Yeah. And that's honestly when, yeah, for business it's good, but I mean, it's to the point now where I think almost anybody that has any kind of like, you know, do it yourself creative kind of itch or whatever, I think pretty much anybody could benefit from having one and playing around with it. They're just really cool to have. And then
Yeah, for
once you
sure.
have it, you start opening up your eyes to the possibilities. Like, you know, I need this thing over here. Well, this, especially like compared to the mill, it's totally different because I can dream up stuff that I need to, or that I could make on the mill. But then if it's something simple, it may be something simple, but say some kind of little bracket or something. But then you start planning out how you're going to make it on the mill and all the different, you know, okay, it's got to be machined on 2 or 3 different sides. So that's 2 or 3 different operations. It's got to be flipped this way and that way, and like how to hold it and make everything
Yep.
happen. It starts to get way more complicated. And there's a little bit of that with the printing just because, you know, have to, whether you use supports or not, because you obviously can't print something just in midair. You can't, you know, sometimes printing holes in the middle of something, depending on how it's oriented, can be an issue. There's different things you have to think about, but all in all, it's fantastic to be able to just quickly knock out an idea and not have to do nearly as much on the programming side of it and figuring out how to do the work holding and all that. So anyway, yeah, very good choice. Very good choice.
Thank you.
So
Yeah, that's talking about it makes me want it even more, I think now. But yeah,
yeah,
hit me,
for
uh,
sure.
hit me with your first choice here.
All right, so I didn't necessarily even stay completely in the EDC world exactly. What I did was try to keep everything in the made in the USA category. So the first one I did is actually I didn't actually do this on purpose, but I guess I thought about it because I've been wearing it. But the Origin Apparel's Kilo hoodie, which is what I've got on right now.
Hmm.
These things are badass. So they have a Kilo and a Kilo Light. This is the Kilo, which is the heavier one. And you talk about warm and and comfortable. These things are fantastic. So I think Amy's got one of the, actually I've got one of the Kilo Lights too, I believe. And I know Amy's got one, and we love those as well. If you need something a little bit lighter, but yeah, they're, you know, most people are probably familiar with them and their story by now, but they're definitely some of the people out there doing it the right way, keeping everything 100% made in the U.S. and all that. So that's glad to support them. I've got tons of their stuff. It's basically the only jeans I wear anymore, and all that. So, but the Kilo hoodie that's kind of one of their staples, I think, in their lineup, and it's for a reason because I've thoroughly enjoyed mine. So that was the first one on my list. So if you need a good hoodie that's made in the U.S., lasts you a really long time, super warm and comfortable, then I'd highly recommend going and checking out the Origin Kilo hoodie.
Nice. Yeah, I was unaware, which I'm very unaware of most clothing anything. I'm out of the loop, and I have been my whole life about anything new or anything like that. But that sounds awesome, and especially on the jeans front because I burn through some jeans, man. I can't keep jeans without holes in them, and that's very problematic at this time of year. I do not care
Yeah.
for the extra ventilation. It is not it is not cool. And so yeah, like trying to keep jeans without holes in them is definitely something I would be interested in.
Yeah, I love their jeans. They've got some different fits and stuff, and some fits. I will say I did not. I bought the last pair I bought was a relaxed fit, and for me, I did not. I need the different fit because the relaxed fit was a little too relaxed for me. But nothing to do with the
Mm,
quality of it. It's just not the fit that I like as much. But yeah, the quality is there. I think I've had to throw one pair, get rid of one pair so far because I wore a hole in it. But that was, I mean, I wear that's basically the only jeans I wear. So I mean, I wear them a lot, and I usually keep just like 2 or 3 pairs that are kind of like ones I wear to the shop. I try to keep a pair or two that's I keep, my
nicer.
nice jeans or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but so they get a good bit of wear, but yeah, I really like, they got some other pants too, but that are made of different. They got some that are more like a Carhartt kind of pants or whatever. But
Yeah.
I like the jeans are made with stretch, which is important. I won't hardly wear jeans anymore that aren't that aren't stretchy. So I've reached the point in life where comfort is pretty important. So I do have a couple of their other ones though. The ones I saw that are like they're called the Moab, mother of all breeches. The pants, and they're like the Carhartt material. It's not really stretchy,
Yeah.
but they're also, I don't wear them as much because they're not as comfortable. So they're super nice and they'll last forever. But I like that comfort of the stretchiness. So anyway,
Stretch pants.
yep, got to have my stretch pants even when it's not Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, what you got next on your list?
All right. Next on my list is once again another piece of equipment that you already have, and it is an AMK horizontal 2x72 grinder.
Mm.
And well, like I said, you've got one, or you have two, or you've got
Yeah,
a
we got
couple
two
now.
now.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you had the one when I worked with you and stuff, and like I loved that grinder. I always have, and I intended to have one by this point. I don't know where the time went, and but it seems like it was on the plans, and I just never quite got around to it. But that's one of those things. Having a dedicated horizontal grinder setup is huge because there's a ton of times when I'll have my grinder set up in horizontal with either a small wheel or something like that, or have it flipped over with the platen up there, and I try to do everything in the shop that I can do while it's flipped over and set up, in that orientation versus how I kind of got used to doing it, in your shop was, okay, go over here, hit the small wheel, okay, here, hit the platen, okay, go over here, grind over here, and, didn't really have that, I guess, process constraint where I, had to sort of think about, okay, what all needs to be done while this is set up like this. And um, it's one of those things that I think would very much help productivity and efficiency and all that sort of stuff. And um, also just being able to keep something dedicated and keep something, set up the way it is without having to flip it back and forth and change out work rest and, all this or other sort of stuff would definitely help.
Yeah, for sure. We've talked on here before. I know about my love of dedicated machines. So that's, it's always nice to have something that can do multiple configurations if you need it to. But I think when if you're trying to do it at any kind of efficiency level, you very quickly figure out that, it's just because it can do it doesn't mean it's the best way to do it. So having a dedicated station where you can just walk over there and do your work, and like I said, you don't have to be as you don't have to think ahead as much about your workflow and stuff. You can just kind of bounce back and forth if you need to or whatever. So it's without having to take time to break it down, set it back up, change everything around. So yeah, for sure. Great machines, and 100% recommend having a dedicated horizontal for basically any knife maker. I mean, it's back to a few episodes ago, we were talking about the stuff that you need to get started. Absolutely not something you have to get started. But if you're getting into it and getting more serious and trying to, actually, make a living at it, or even just kind of make some money at it and have it be a more of a business than a hobby, then for sure I recommend having that a dedicated horizontal for it. It will make your life way easier. So
Yeah, and I
good
guess to
idea.
sort of talk about it a little bit, for those of you who've never worked in a knife shop or done anything like that, but um, you know, when you're using like a small wheel attachment, especially, if you've got it vertical like this, that means you can't really see what's going on, on the knife. You have to kind of do this weird side thing, and even if you're holding it up against a work rest, you're fighting gravity in doing it like this, and trying to keep everything smooth and even while also keeping it pinned to the work rest and keeping it parallel or perpendicular to the work surface and all that. So I mean, it's big for profiling, it's big for those choil areas and finger grooves and stuff like that. But yeah, so just a little bit on how those things, like why that's an important piece of machinery. And I use it a lot for just profiling in general. But yeah.
Yeah, agreed. It's profiling is big. That's the biggest thing I've ever used it for. And I profiled a whole lot of knives without it before I finally broke down and got one. But my life got a whole lot easier once I got one. So, of course, I was stubborn and doing it completely freehand on a vertical grinder without even using a work rest to keep it squared up. So there was lots of learning to hold it square and lots of mistakes, lots of struggles to try to get where I could consistently hold it square to the wheel, and not have it grinding at an angle. But yeah, for sure,
very
for
difficult.
sure. Yeah, it's very difficult. Way more difficult than it sounds, really, to hold. You imagine holding the knife and like trying to clean up, say, the spine of it, and you're moving it on a wheel, back and forth. The wheel's right here, and you're moving it back and forth this way. Like it is extremely difficult to hold that spine so that the entire spine is perfectly laying flat against the wheel and not just at a slight angle one way or the other. So and that will show up at places like transition areas. Like if you have a point where on the spine, like if it comes to a point of some sort, like it has like a thumb ramp or something, or like you've got a harpoon or like any kind of transition point, and it'll really show up at like the butt of the handle. Like as you're going around, even if the spine was like perfectly straight, as you get to the butt and it starts to go around that curve, like where the straight part starts to round into the butt of the knife, you're going to see it right there. It won't look straight. You'll have a crooked butt. So nobody wants a
You
crooked
will have
butt.
a crooked butt. Very much so. You don't want a crooked butt. That's
Do
number one.
not.
So
That's right.
that's definitely one of the pieces of equipment that I've wanted for a while, and I need to break down and get one day. And I'm sure I will enjoy life much more once I do.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it's a good investment.
how about your second pick?
All right. So next on the list, I've got it's a company called Paladin 33, and he makes nylon type gear, makes bags. The thing in particular that I put on here was the belt bag. It's basically like a fanny pack, and I don't personally have one, but Amy's got one and she loves it. Actually, it was on her Christmas list to get her another one. She wanted one in a different color, but they've been out of the color she wants is out of stock. So I'm not sure that's probably going to have to be a surprise gift for something else down the road. Don't listen to this, Amy.
You
But
think she's getting all
she told
careless?
me she wanted it, so it's not going to be that much of a surprise anyway. But yeah, so yeah, so it's a belt bag. They have a couple of different varieties. I'm gonna try to pull it up here. I tried to have everything pulled up on my phone and prepared so I could reference, but it's not wanting to cooperate with me at the moment. So I'll get it pulled up. So yeah, it's called the American Belt Bag, and they've kind of got a couple of different versions of it. They've got a couple of different sizes and versions, but the basic one that she's got is the American Belt Bag. And one thing I kind of meant to do is include prices with this stuff too. I'd have to go back and look on the Origin Kilo hoodie. I can't remember. Actually, you know what? I think they're on sale right now. I think for right around $50, something like that, which is actually phenomenal. That's a great deal on a quality American made hoodie. So don't quote me on that, but I want to say I saw it on sale for right around $50, give or take. So that's if you're on the fence about one of those, now would be the time to snag one. But back to the belt bag, they're $100. The basic one, like Amy has, is $100 even, and it's really nice. It's just a really nice little bag. She uses hers like whenever we're out and about, especially when we're actually traveling. She uses it just kind of like essentially like a little small purse, like a clutch kind of deal, I guess, but with a strap. So she throws it. She wears it. She doesn't wear it as a fanny pack. She wears it like crossbody. And so then it's nobody's going to come up and be able to just snatch it out of her hand or whatever. It's got a lot more security to it and all that. So she keeps her stuff that she wants to keep, the most valuable stuff, right there on her, and keeps it slung cross body and works great. She loves it. Like I said, so much that she's wanting one in a different color. So that's a great thing. And I will also mention they have another. I'm going to do a little plug here that for Paladin 33 and us, and they're great people over there. Josh over there is a great guy. He's been really good with us so far. We are working with them on a. I'm trying to find so I actually get the name correct of it. It's our. Bear with me for a second. They have some. They have larger bags too. Besides the belt bag, they have some larger like fanny pack type bags.
Yeah.
Well, why am I not being able to find the? Because I've got on the spot. I did not do enough homework and get this pulled up. I didn't know if I was going to mention the knife case thing, but let's see. I can look on our site probably and find it. So it's basically a knife storage case. It's called the Infinity Knife Collector Pouch. Sorry, I totally blanked out on that. I couldn't find it. So it's the Infinity Knife Collector Pouch, and it holds. I believe it holds 6. Is that right? Yeah, 6 folding knives. It'll hold 2 pens, 2 notebooks. Really nice design that he came up with. The way he made it, the way it folds up. It's not your standard like kind of mini briefcase kind of bag. It opens up more like a clamshell, and it's really cool. There's a lot of storage in there, and we happen to have some on our site with our logo on them, and they are $110. So, they're pretty cool. You can get them the one straight from him, or if you wanted one with a really cool logo on it, get the Samurai Sam on there from the McNeese Knives, and you can always pick one up off of our site too. So. I promise I won't be plugging it. I think that's actually literally the only thing that's on our site that made it to my list. But I would have recommended it anyway, even if we weren't selling it. But really cool product. So really nice way. Like if you want to go on a trip or something and you're wanting to carry more than you want to carry your load out so that you can rotate your knives while you're going to be gone, or you're going to meet up with a buddy and you want to have your stuff to show off, or for going to knife shows, whatever. Like just something where you need to carry. Travel with some knives, it's a great way to do it, and it's really stylish and very well made. So
obviously, if you're, I think, willing to put your name and branding on it and do a collaboration of sorts, I think you're,
right,
a fan of it in general.
Exactly.
One thing I did want to give a quick shout out to. I mean, bags are very cool. I love all sorts of bags. I don't know why, but my whole life I don't need any bags, but I keep buying. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I just.
I'm a total bag whore. Yes.
I've got like 7 backpacks. I don't even use a backpack on but like twice a year. But anyway,
Hold on.
I did want to give. Yep. How many bags do you have in that office right
now? just 2 within reach, I think. But yeah.
Okay.
All right, carry on.
Yeah, I know that's something we're simpatico on. But quick shout out to both you and Jake McCoy of McCoy Blade Works for being on the cover of the Blade magazine. What is it? The Knives 26 or?
Yeah, it's like the yearly guide or whatever. I forget exactly what they call it, but yeah.
Yeah, I ordered one earlier today, and I can't even remember what the name of it is now. But I went on Blade Magazine's website, and they're only $10 a piece, and I think it was like $5 shipping. So, thought that was really cool that both you and Jake on there at the same time. I think there's a Case Barlow on there as well. But especially you've known Jake since he was like 12 years old, and now y'all both have knives on the same cover, and just thought that was a cool thing.
Yeah, that is pretty cool, and thank you. Yeah, that is pretty cool. That was I love seeing that. That's that made it all the more special for him to be on there too. Because like I said, I remember I think it was his first Blade show when he came out, and like he's talked about being 12 and going up talking to makers and stuff. I remember him. I still remember him coming up and talking to me that year at the show, and I was like, that's a nice young man. I think he's gonna go places, and there we are. So. Pretty cool.
Nice young man would still describe Jake very much so. He from the pictures I've seen, he kind of looked 12 until he, started the bodybuilding thing. So, it might have been
Yeah.
hard to tell. Sorry, Jake, but yeah. So, but Jake's a great guy. He's nicest guy you could ever want to meet, and just super cool that y'all both got to be on the cover together. But anyway,
Yeah. Agreed.
so on to my next pick. I don't know how many you have, but I'm just gonna go with my next one, and we'll see where we
That's
end
fine.
up. I guess towards the end. Do what?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. And this one is sort of for the shop and sort of for me. It's a product I want to try, and I guess it could be something that other people would want to try as knife users. But UltiClip has a new ish sort of clip thing. I know I mentioned one a couple months ago whenever I went to the Marks Outdoors show, and I got a knife with a new sort of wire clip. But this is also a wire clip solution that's sort of more inline. It looks more like the Spyderco clips, like sort of just straight up and down instead of the one
Mm-hmm.
I have. It's sort of like a Y that can be
Yeah.
adjusted. But this one, it like sort of has like a little plastic bracket that goes over and like basically looks like it'll fit, as like just a pocket clip is sort of what it looks like. And it's called the
Hmm.
UltiClip AP. I don't know what the AP stands for, but it looks like a pretty cool little system. UltiClip does great things as far as they know what they're doing when it comes to pocket clips. I've got one on right now, or had one on, so I took it out. But yeah, they do great work, and it's just one of those things I've had my eye on. At, personally, I want to try it, and if I like it, if it works, and all that sort of stuff, might possibly bring it into the product line and use it on knives I make and sell and stuff. You found it yet?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking it up now because I'd seen the other one that you were talking about, the wider one. I had not seen this one yet, so I'm kind of checking it out now. Yeah, that looks
Yeah,
interesting. I'm gonna have to check those out too because with us having more fixed blades rolling down the line, I've kind of been trying to figure out where I'm going to settle on for hardware and stuff. So that's
yeah.
pretty slick. I'll check that out
It's
more too. I may have to put that on my wish list.
that's one of those things that's always that I've found that's super difficult as far as like a fixed blade seller is trying to find a clip or a carry solution basically that is that appeals to a lot of people. For the
Right.
longest time, I've just done sort of like a single horizontal belt strap, and if you want more than that, choose your own adventure. That's just how I like to carry them. But for pocket carry, Ulti Clip is great. Discrete Carry Concepts does good clips. There's a bunch of them out there now, like with leather pocket sheaths and stuff. Those just sort of like standard bent clips from Double X knives, and uh, that's just another one that I've really liked the look of. I know ulti clips sometimes with thicker pants, like the traditional ulti clips like this, can be a little difficult to get in and out and maneuver. They will not let go, which is great. That's one of the things I sort of appreciate in a clip or even in a sheath in general is the knife in the sheath will be where you left it when you get done at the end of the day. It will still
Right.
be there. Or if it's a folder, I want that clip to still be clipped on your pocket. I don't want it to fall out because it got snagged on a jacket or something like that. So it's always a fine balance when you're dealing with those things where you're like, okay, that's ridiculous amount of tension versus like, okay, that might just fall over with a strong gust of wind, or trying to find that uh the three little bears thing, the Goldilocks zone.
Yeah. Yeah. Want the porridge to be just right.
Exactly. So
Yep.
yeah, thought that'd be
Yeah.
a cool
That's
little product to highlight, and like I said, other people out there may have been interested in it or may not have heard about it and may like it too.
yeah. Oh, that includes me because I had not seen that yet. So I gotta I'm gonna check it out because it looks interesting for sure. I'm always looking for good solutions for that kind of stuff because there's some pretty good ones out there, but I don't. It's very hard to find a one size fits all for every
Yes.
model. Every size knife, every sheath design, all that stuff. So options are good. So
Yes.
all right, cool. All right, so I'm gonna step it up a little bit. Well, not going any bigger than you've already gone as far as price wise, but on my list, I'm going to step it up a notch. So the next thing I have on my list is something that everybody needs. I feel like, even though I don't have one yet. Who does not need a tactical warhammer? I mean, just think of the uses. So
I'm down.
yeah. All your tactical hammering needs just taken care of. So all joking aside, these things are badass. So what I'm talking about is the RMJ Tactical Cuddles. They're Warhammer, and I'm looking at it on eKnives right now. And it is this particular one is $6.95, which is really not bad for what this is. It's just freaking cool. Everything RMJ does is cool, but like this is a really cool Warhammer. I mean, it's I just don't really know what else to say about it. It's just I'd love to have it and smash some stuff with it. Like it would. I've got one of their hawks hanging up there on a wall. I feel like I need a hawk in one hand and the warhammer in the other, and just go full on berserker.
Yes.
On something, maybe some deconstructing some. Next time we need to do some demo on a house or something. I don't know, but it's.
I just pictured you I pictured you in the field beside the shop, just chopping up watermelons and pumpkins and stuff.
That would be a fun way to probably make some good video. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So yeah, I like the Snuggles, the Warhammer. That's a really cool. It's a really cool design, cool idea. Got my wheels turning about maybe wanting to do something, but as usual, trying to come up with something that's different than. I mean, they don't own the Warhammer idea, but they've definitely done a good job with it, and coming up with something different that's still cool. Might be difficult, but you never know. But yeah, super cool. I just think it's a unique thing, and not. There are people though, legitimately, that actually do have some uses for. I mean, obviously the people that are actually in for real tactical situations, that they could use it for multiple things, including busting into doors, windows, assorted things like that. But anyway, and you can use your imagination. I mean, if the zombie apocalypse happens, then like I would be highly disappointed in myself if a zombie apocalypse came about and I did not have a warhammer, to just go grab and get after it. So I feel like
you never know when it's coming either, so you got to get on.
I know. I'm basically just living on the edge here. I mean, I'm risking every day, jumping into a zombie apocalypse with no warhammer. So I feel like it's kind of a necessity. So I may have to rectify that before long, because I mean that would be a travesty. All those skulls to split and no hammer to do it with. I mean, have to use some generic, I don't know, an East Wing or Est Wing or something would be pretty cool, I guess. But you want to hear something funny while we're on it, since I just mispronounced it? All this time, and I've owned them, all this time, I thought they were East Wing hammers.
Yeah. I did for a long time.
Yeah.
I thought it was EAST.
I did too. I kind of feel like that's almost one of those, what's that deal
Mandela effect?
What's the Mandela effect? Yeah, that's what I almost feel like it's that. I think it's actually just my ignorance, but it feels like the Mandela effect. I felt like my whole life they were East Wing hammers, and now I find out they're Est Wing hammers. So anyway,
somebody just came along and took the letter out and tricked us all. And,
something.
That's my assumption.
I think it was a glitch in the matrix.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I thought the same thing my whole life. My dad was my dad built houses, and him and his brothers owned a company building houses, and they all used Est Wings, but I just
called them East Wings, didn't they?
Yeah, I think they called them East Wings, and so that's what the adults say. That's what I should say. I just assumed that was how it's spelled until I got one of my own, because for a long time I just had cheap, crappy hammers, and I think whenever we moved into this house, that was what I asked for my birthday or Christmas or something, was
Mm,
like a good hammer. I wanted an S-Wing
yeah.
hammer, and I got the one with the leather stacked handle, and looks real good.
Nice.
And I
Yeah.
even, when I first got my laser, that was the first thing I lasered, was my hammer. I put my maker's mark on it, not because I made it, but because I needed something to test on, man.
My mind went somewhere completely different, but I guess it just shows how my mind works. I was like, I thought you were going to say I got my laser and it was messing up and pissed me off. So I beat it with the hammer.
You're in the
Because that
Warhammer state
sounds,
of mind.
hey, when you're a hammer, everything's a nail, baby. I don't know what to tell you. Like, you got to find
Yes.
something to hammer. So, all right. So, yes, Est Wing, I think it's probably a regional thing, honestly. I think it's probably you know, it may be a southern thing or whatever. I don't know, or
Yeah.
if that's nationwide, a mispronunciation. But anyway, for sure around here, that's the way I'd always heard it said. But anyway, yes, that would be an accept. I could live with that, but if I really wanted to be like the cool dude of the apocalypse, I definitely need a Snuggles from RMJ. So that's on my list. All right,
Yeah.
enough
See if you
destruction
can
for now. Moving on.
well, see if you can talk Clay into a buy one get one, for a certain
Yeah, there you go.
co-host. I don't know, but
There you go.
yeah. So next thing on my list is a little esoteric, I guess, or not necessarily like a product, but I mean, I guess it is. Anyway, I'll get to it. It's my current shop is uninsulated, and it is going to be effing cold, I believe, is how the weatherman would describe it tomorrow. And so my one of the first things that actually popped into my mind when writing this list was insulation. I would very much like for my shop to be insulated. Um, don't know, I'm probably gonna end up doing the spray foam stuff. Problem with doing that now, where I've used this shop for 5 years, is I've got stuff all up on the walls. I've got grid wall. I've got I've built a grinding room. I've got stuff actually attached all up on the walls and stuff that I would have to like sort of deconstruct, push everything to the center of the shop, and then insulate the whole thing. So that would be a big project as far as trying to do all that. Because a lot of that stuff's real heavy too, especially now that I got that surface
Yeah.
grinder in there. I've got a big cabinet that I keep all my materials and stuff in that I've had to move a couple times, and it's never fun. I usually end up taking all the materials out to make it easier, but the last time I didn't, because it's hard to find a place to put all that stuff at some point. So I was just like, I need to just swivel it a little bit, and it was very heavy. But anyway, I would really like insulation so that I'm not just freezing to death. That's just me being wishful thinking right now, kind of dreading tomorrow. I've got heaters and stuff out there, but with it just being, it's just a metal box. It's tin on the outside, metal uh, poles and stuff. It's a metal pole barn basically, and so there's no real insulation value to any of that. And yeah, that would be something if I had just a lot of time and a lot of money, or excessive time where I could get that done. I would definitely do that.
Yeah, that's a big one for sure. It's I remember the pre-installation days at the old shop too, and I'll tell you, it's kind of one of those everything you were talking about, and if you can't, you can't, and I couldn't, and you couldn't either. But that's kind of one of those buy once, cry once kind of things or whatever, because if ideally you want to do that in the beginning before you start building everything out and all that, but if it's hard to do, because
Yeah,
it's not something that directly makes you money. It's not like a
yeah,
grinder or a piece of equipment that's directly, you know, it's indirectly affecting, and you can guarantee you'll get more work done if you have a climate controlled space to work in this time of year particularly. So
very
when you
much
look
so.
at it like that, it's a little more direct correlation to a business, something that will help you make money. It's a business expense either way, but
Yeah,
I remember. So I don't know if I ever told you this, but the installation in the other shop, it was just like bat installation, like
yeah,
like you put in the house or whatever. But it was like the 4-foot bats, not rolls. And I do not remember how I found them, but I searched high and low for like discount building supply places and stuff like that. And I found a place, it was somewhere up around Birmingham, that sold, it was discount insulation. I don't know if it was like overflow stuff from big construction jobs or something. I don't even remember the name of it, or I don't remember, I don't guess I knew like why they had cheaper insulation, and it wasn't like dirt cheap, but it was definitely cheaper. So I searched and found that and made a trip up there and loaded the truck up with big bags of bats and headed home and put it in the walls and stapled it in, and walls and ceilings. And you saw the result. It didn't look great. Well, I mean, I guess the walls were fine. We put plywood up over it there. It's, the ceiling, we did let's say, I think I stuffed the bats in there and then put that silver lined foam sheets from Lowe's or whatever over the top of that. And you might want to look at that too, because obviously the other is going to be, like spray would be the best, of course. But in the meantime, if you didn't do anything but your ceiling, it would help. If you could get you some of those sheets and even if it's kind of like a temporary kind of deal on your ceiling, then, something you could put up almost with like roofing tacks that have we've actually done that in the grinding room here for like noise insulation. Use basically like a screw with a washer on it. And so you could take it down and reuse it somewhere if you needed to. And you see, anyway, I'm just,
that's the biggest thing. Like, is nothing in my shop is wood as far as the construction of it. So trying to find
it's all
ways
metal.
to fix stuff. Yeah. Is the difficult part. But yeah, I mean, I have considered some of that, is that what R14 or P14 is? I can't remember what it's called.
I'm not sure. The R value is typically the insulation value.
Yeah.
So whatever insulation you're looking at it, whatever, if it's R or something, that's typically the value of insulation that it is. I don't know what it's called other than that.
That was something, like I said, my dad being in construction, they had a bunch of that sort of stuff, and I think it was either P14 or R14 is what they called it. Don't know if that's a technical name, but yeah, definitely need to do something, because
I feel you.
It's gonna be cold tomorrow. I mean, like I said, I've got heaters and stuff out there, but I definitely work in bursts at this time of year. There is a burst of working, then there is a not a lot of working while I like defrost basically and thaw out, and then back to working once I can feel my hands again, and then that cycle continues. So yeah.
And a heater doesn't do you much good unless you've got it basically blowing straight up your ass. Like you've got to, it's got to be like right on top of you. Like it's not gonna do any good to have a heater blowing across the room because it loses heat so quick with no insulation.
It just goes straight up and it's gone. And I've got higher ceilings in my shop than your shop had, and so it just it seems to evaporate almost immediately.
I'm sure. Yeah. Anyway, well, that's a good one to have on your list. Santa Claus bring a big old sleigh of insulation for you.
Oh, I'd kiss him in the mouth.
It'd probably be worth it.
Yeah,
that's funny. All right,
what you got next?
So, I think what I'm going to make, we're getting about our time limit deal here. So, I think I had a couple of other small things on my list, but I'm going to finish out with one that I really like. So from being around me, especially at shows, it's not like I do it typically day to day, but sometimes when I go out certain places or when at like knife shows and stuff, I really like big skull rings. So I've got one from Steel Flame, which I really like. And the only reason their stuff is really hard to find, which is the only main reason that I went with, and they don't have as big a variety of big skull rings as Starling Gear does, who I'm getting to here. Starling Gear, they're kind of like the grandfather or one of, at least in our thing. I mean, there's other people outside of the knife and EDC community that make big skull rings and stuff and have for a long time, but In our circle, Starling Gear is kind of the big, skull ring people. So they make tons of different kinds. Rick over there at Starling Gear is another one of those people, like I said, with RMJ, where basically everything he touches is just cool. So I'm looking at one now. There's several I like to have. There's actually one that I've got. I've got a version of this, but it's still one of my favorite on the that I'm seeing here. I'm on Monkey Edge's site, and they have they call them puncher rings, which are that's the the basically the big ones, big gaudy ones. They call them puncher rings, and so the one that catches my eye is the Stealth. They've got a couple of different versions of it. They've got a stealth puncher that's silver, and it's like a polished silver. And then they've got another one that I really like that's a stealth blade puncher, and it's got texture, just more of a kind of a matte finish. It's not a super shiny polished finish, and it's for a low. I don't know. Not exactly sure how these are classified. I don't think they're necessarily classified as custom jewelry, but they're not. They're certainly not like high production by any means. It's very, very low production numbers on these, I know. And I don't want to say it wrong one way or the other. Whatever category they're called, I don't think the price is bad for what it is. So this one that I'm looking at is $675, and for a big, knowing what goes into these, I know that they all they use the lost wax method which intrigues me. It has ever since I heard of it. Use that method to create these things, and they're just fantastic works of art. They're, like I said, I think I've got 3 maybe of the Starling Gear ones, and they're just phenomenal. Like, I mean, they're just looking at them like they're just cool. I mean, all the little details. It's amazing. Yeah, very, very detailed, very cool style to them. Just and a great company that's always been good for the community. I feel like they were back during the. I've never been around them a lot in person, but back during at the USN shows, the gathering that we used to have, they were one of the big participants there. They always did this big, huge giveaway where they would give away tons of stuff. They would hand out like cards, and they would do big giveaways. And I forget, we won. I know we won a T-shirt one time. Amy did, and then I feel like she won something else. She always got really lucky in their giveaways. But yeah, they would just. I mean, they were super cool with the community. Like I said, giving away. I mean, I there's no telling how many how much dollars worth of stuff they were giving away at that show every year. Like, they just really cool people, and I feel like a good influence on the community. So, and I really, really love their stuff. And I know that big gaudy rings like that aren't for everybody, but they're cool. I would encourage everybody at least go check them out. If nothing else, you can appreciate the artwork and stuff. If you're into skulls and stuff like that, like I am, then I can't help. But they got a lot of different styles, so you're gonna find something you like. But they have other stuff too. That they do all kinds of really cool stuff. Like, they got lots of pendants. They even I saw a really cool alligator skin wallet that I think they actually teamed up with another guy. I cannot remember his name off the top of my head. Maybe Bill Wall, that I think does the actual like leather work, or work on that kind of stuff with them. But just lots and lots of cool stuff. They do all kinds of, like, I've seen them take like antique ashtrays and like soup them up with all kinds of cool new, not, I think they're like basically solder. I know so little about jewelry making that I probably don't even need to try to explain it. But basically they'll put like their skulls and their stuff like that, like on like antique like ashtrays, and just all kinds of stuff like that. It's just super cool stuff. But yeah, so if you're looking for you a nice big puncher ring, so you can have you a cool piece of jewelry, then Starling Gear is a good place to go. And like I said, Monkey Edge has a few in stock, and that I really like the stealth blade puncher silver texture. I wish I could show a picture of it on here. It's super cool. I'd encourage you guys to go check it out, at least take a look at it. Very cool. So
Sweet.
I think that'll round me out.
Nice. Yeah, that's something I don't think was on my bingo card. I know you like to wear them at the shows and stuff, but yeah, I wasn't expecting you to pull that out today. But yeah, they're very cool. They're like, and I think, in terms of being a maker, it's very fascinating in terms of like how they do that. The lost wax method
Right.
being what it is, and having to carve and put all that detail in there and all that sort of stuff is very, very cool to me. Um, there used to be or there still is a maker. I don't think he does the lost wax stuff anymore, but there's a knife maker over in somewhere in the South Asia, one of those islands. I can't remember exactly where, but he used to do like really cool carved wax onis, like the Japanese oni
Mm.
demon sort of things, and like cast those and stuff. And I was
Was it
always every
Santi?
time do what?
Was his name Santi or Sant?
I don't think
Something
so.
like that. Santi.
His Instagram is Balete Blades. That's Balete Blades.
Okay, that's somebody
Um,
different then.
the
Sorry.
Yeah, he was. I mean, at the time he was doing it, I think he was like 16 or 17 doing that, and he was also making knives at the same time. And now I think he mostly focuses on the knives and doing like he used to do a lot of kitchen knives and stuff. I think he does mostly folders now. But yeah, it's always a very cool like learning a new uh, facet of making things and stuff like that is very
Hmm.
fascinating to I think a lot of us maker types, and so it's always really cool to see someone do really good in that particular area when you're like, I don't even know how that works. So, but yeah,
Right.
very cool.
All right. You got. Let's see. Did you go first?
Yeah, I went first.
Okay. Well, do you have another one you want to throw out, or you want to wrap it up there?
I mean, I did have a one more, but not a whole lot to it. I would like a better milling machine than the one I
Mm.
currently have. Been looking at the Precision Matthews 727, I think is the model of it. Not necessarily like a full stand-up mill by itself, but it's a very, very precise, benchtop mill and very well built and all that. And I just like to expand my capabilities in that realm. And I think at the point I'm at, you kind of get to a point where the tooling is holding you back in some areas. I mean, it's probably not. There's probably more stuff I could do with my mill that I just don't realize. But it's definitely one of those things. I mean, I'm running a Harbor Freight benchtop mill, so I mean, I've pretty much got the base entry model you can get to kind of get into this, and so looking to upgrade in that area is something I'd be interested in.
Yeah. Yeah. That's an important one. That's a good one, and that's one of those that's hard to figure out. Like, okay, do I upgrade a little bit to like this that's still not really necessarily ideal, or do I wait and up till I can upgrade to a full blown like knee mill, or do I, just wait till I can invest in a CNC, like
Yeah,
like a Haas mini mill or something like. So I know there's a lot that goes into the thought process there, but yeah,
very
that would
much.
be a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, and the better mill in general. I mean, like that's thinking sort of smaller, but it better mill in general would kind of include a Haas or some other sort of CNC capability that would be able to do things a little more precisely than I am doing them now.
Right. For sure. Yeah. All right. That's a good one. So I will mention the last two that I had on the list. Just I almost think of them as like stocking stuffers. One of them literally probably could be a stocking stuffer, and it was very generic. But the only other two things that I had down that I didn't mention were a to throw a knife in there, because this is the Knife Freak show after all, and to not be a too self promoting and put either one of ours in there or whatever, which totally would be fine if you wanted to buy one of ours for somebody. But when I say ours, I mean McNeese or Boatwright. But I was looking. I made sure again, sticking with the USA made deal, and looking for something that was on the not low end of the price frame, but lower, like kind of mid range or whatever, and wide appeal. So I basically chose this Spyderco Paramilitary 2. I think that's a great all-around knife. It's one of their American-made models. Hard to go wrong with that. So I felt like, in other words, my thought on this was like, okay, if you're getting somebody that's maybe a non-knife person, you want to get them a nice knife that's step up from probably anything they've had or whatever. That would be a good place to go with it. So that was kind of my thought process on that. So the paramilitary too. And then the other little thing that I thought it would be kind of like a stocking stuffer thing would be a Zippo lighter. Zippo lighters are always cool. I didn't have a specific one. I'll go back to being a little self-promoting. We're going to try to list some on the site with our logos on them here soon, but we don't even have them up yet, and probably won't have them before Christmas. So, but that's probably why they were on my brain, because I've been meaning for us to do them. But Zippos are super cool. They are made in the U.S. Everybody just about likes a cool Zippo, and there are a gazillion different ones. There's tons of different varieties. There's just plain ones in different colors. There's tons and tons and tons and tons of designs out there, and that come straight from Zippo. There's tons of custom designs on them for people that do work on them and stuff. So, yeah, just lots of cool stuff. I just think that's another cool American-made product that I could make a great stocking stuffer for people. So that wraps up the list for me. I think I could probably find stuff all day long, but that was the list I compiled to try to fit within the time frame here.
Very much, yeah. Good choices. I mean, the PM2. That's I really don't think I could really. I mean, aside from like a big camp knife, I mean, I think a PM2 for a daily driver would be anything I could ever want and more. It's a great knife. I own two, actually, one that you gave me and one that I got in a trade. But they're basically bomb proof. They cut well. They're kind of fun to play with the compression lock and the spotty hole. You can do the flicks and the trips and the whatever you kids do these days. And Zippo, I've always loved a Zippo. That sound is iconic. That flipping open sound, and
that clicking sound.
Striking. It's a good. It's just, I don't know. Something about it is old school Americana. My personal favorite is I think it's the 1941 pattern. It's the one that sort of has the more rounded edges, like, it was the I guess how they made them back then, and I guess that's sort of why I like it. It's sort of that vintage sort of feel. But I got one with my initials on it that my wife got for me 1 year on our anniversary. I've got a couple more. I think I've got one with your logo. Haven't done one with my logo yet. Should probably do that, but
you should correct that. Yeah. I mean, they're really are like a classic gift. I mean, there's no telling how many of those have been given as gifts for assorted things and in stockings and stuff like that. Like I'd love to know how many movies and TV shows those things have been in. Like, how many times have you seen somebody, pour gasoline all over the house or in the car and then flick the Zippo and throw, which that always kills me. I'm like, dude, like, you just threw away your lighter. Like, do you not care about your Zippo? Like, come on, man.
But also, you can't You can't do that and get far enough away with a Bic lighter. You got to be able to, So
yeah, I guess that's the just have to sacrifice them sometimes if you got something you need to blow up that bad. So, All right. Speaking of blowing up, let's blow this thing up and get out of here.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. So appreciate you guys. Hope you enjoyed our rambling talk about some assorted things this week. This would be a great episode to get lots of feedback on. We'd really like to hear your guys. If you listen to this, do us a favor. Try to drop at least, especially if you're on YouTube. And if you're not, just go to YouTube and leave a comment. Even if you didn't actually do the episode on there, drop one thing in the comments that you would have on your list, either for yourself or just something that you think makes a good Christmas list item from the EDC world, knife making world. It can be any of that stuff. So, and particularly doesn't have to be like I did and keep it American made, but obviously I like that. So, and you never know, guys, this can help bring awareness because, there's stuff just like I didn't know about that particular ulti clip yet that Chase just mentioned. So you never know, if we all share stuff like this, we can learn some new stuff and might find something that we don't make it for Christmas. We might be something we just pick up for ourselves after Christmas. Tax season will be coming around here before long. We'll be getting a little a lot of people be getting a little money back, so
Yep.
might want to go spend it on a new Zippo or something. So
Yeah, for sure.
but yeah, do us a favor and drop at least one thing that you think will make a good item. Drop as many as you want, but drop at least one thing in the comments. We always appreciate if you can give us reviews, particularly on the audio platforms, and subscribe, all that good stuff, guys. We appreciate you. And Christmas is coming up, so make sure you're being good. Santa Claus is watching. Have a great week, guys.
Yeah, be sure to hit us on the email with questions, suggestions, knife stories, anything you got like that, or if you want to put your suggestions, on there, and we can read them out later. If you've got like 37, we might be able to read those out. If you've got a bunch of gift suggestions that are really good, but the email is knifefreakshow@gmail.com. You can find McNeese Knives at mcneeseknives.com, McNeese Knives on Facebook and Instagram, and I am Bowride Blade Works, bowridebladeworks.wixsite.com, Bowride Blade Works on Facebook and Instagram as well. So, that being said, you have anything else?
That's it. You guys just have a great week, and we'll see you soon.
And let your freak flag fly.